This is Dr.RED Panda.
What if I told you the world's richest billionaires aren't just buying yachts or mansions, they're buying entire islands, paradise on the surface, but what's really happening behind those closed gates? From exploited workers to destroyed ecosystems, these islands might hide more than just luxury. Hi, I'm Dr.RED Panda, and today we're diving into the dark truth behind billionaires' private islands. Paradise for sale. Why billionaires buy islands? When you picture paradise, what do you see? Maybe it's white sand beaches, turquoise waves, palm trees swaying in the wind. Now imagine not just visiting that paradise, but owning it. For billionaires, this isn't a dream, it's a lifestyle. So why do billionaires buy islands? At first glance, the answer seems simple: privacy and luxury. For people who are constantly in the spotlight, owning an island means finally being unreachable. No paparazzi, no neighbors, no rules, just an ocean between them and the rest of humanity. But there's more to it than peace and quiet. Owning an island is also the ultimate status symbol. If you're already rich enough to buy supercars, private jets, or mansions, what's left? The only thing that truly sets you apart is controlling your very own slice of the earth. Take Richard Branson, for example. He bought Necker Island in the British Virgin Islands back in the 1970s. What was once a remote patch of land became a playground for celebrities, politicians, and royalty. Or Larry Ellison, co-founder of Oracle, who went even further. He bought almost the entire Hawaiian island of Lanai. That's not just real estate, that's practically becoming the king of your own kingdom. But here's where things get interesting. These islands aren't just about luxury getaways. They often serve as financial shelters. Many private islands exist in or near tax havens, places like the Caribbean, allowing billionaires to quietly protect and expand their fortunes away from government oversight. And, of course, there's the image. Magazines love to splash glossy photos of billionaires sipping cocktails on their private beaches. The message is clear. This is the pinnacle of success. Paradise doesn't belong to everyone. It belongs to those rich enough to buy it. Yet, behind the glamour of these private islands, there are questions that rarely get asked. What happens to the people who lived there before? Who maintains this paradise while billionaires relax? And at what cost to the environment? Because here's the uncomfortable truth. What looks like a tropical dream from the outside often hides a darker reality within. Hidden costs, the people who pay the price. On glossy magazine covers, billionaire islands look like heaven. But what those glossy pictures don't show are the people who paid the hidden costs. Let's start with the locals. Many of these private islands weren't empty when billionaires arrived. They had fishing villages, small farms, or local communities who had lived there for generations. Once the land changes hands, these communities often find themselves pushed out, sometimes directly evicted, sometimes priced out as the cost of living skyrockets around them. For example, when Larry Ellison bought Lanai in Hawaii, he didn't just purchase land, he bought 98% of the island. Imagine waking up one day and realizing nearly every road, business, and piece of infrastructure now belongs to a single billionaire. Sure, Ellison promised development, jobs, and eco-friendly projects, but for many residents, the feeling of being tenants in their own homeland never went away. And this isn't just Hawaii. Across the Caribbean and Southeast Asia, local communities have faced displacement. A once public beach becomes a billionaire's private coastline. A fishing spot that sustained families for generations suddenly becomes off-limits because it interferes with the billionaire's view. But it doesn't stop with people, it also extends to the environment. To turn a wild, natural island into a luxury retreat, ecosystems are often reshaped, forests cut down, and coral reefs damaged by construction. Resorts need airstrips, mansions need electricity, yachts need docking ports. Paradise is redesigned not for nature, not for locals, but for the tastes of the ultra-rich. And let's not forget labor. Who keeps the cocktails cold, the villas spotless, and the yachts polished? Workers, often from poorer nearby communities, are flown in or shipped over. They do the hardest jobs under the lowest pay, hidden in the shadows of billionaire paradise. To the outside world, the island looks serene. But behind the scenes, it runs on invisible labor. What makes all of this sting even more is the power imbalance. Locals can protest. Environmentalists can sound alarms. Workers can demand better treatment. But who wins in the end? The fisherman with no lawyer, or the billionaire with a team of attorneys, lobbyists, and PR experts? And so the glossy magazines never mention the displaced families, the degraded reefs, the struggling workers. Instead, we just see the image. Billionaire on a white sand beach, smiling at a paradise they claim as their own. But ask yourself, if paradise is only possible by pushing others out, is it really paradise? Or is it just another empire built on invisible suffering? The hidden cost: workers, locals, and invisible lives. When we picture a billionaire's private island, it's easy to imagine silence, tranquility, and untouched paradise. But beneath the turquoise waters and golden beaches lies a reality most tourists, and even journalists, will never see. Because to build and maintain such heavenly escapes, someone has to do the dirty work, and often that someone is invisible. Let's start with the workers. On many private islands, especially in regions like the Caribbean, Southeast Asia, or the Pacific, the majority of the labor force comes from nearby villages or poorer nations. They are brought in with promises of good wages, food, and stable employment. But the reality? Stories emerge of 12-hour shifts under the sun, cramped living quarters with held passports and salaries that, after deductions, barely cover basic needs. For the billionaires, these workers are essential. Yet for the workers themselves, the island often feels less like paradise and more like a gilded prison. Locals, too, face their own struggles. When a billionaire buys up an island, or even part of one, it often means cutting off traditional fishing routes, restricting land use, or raising property values beyond what ordinary families can afford. Communities that have lived by the sea for generations suddenly find themselves fenced off from the very resources that once sustained them. In some cases, entire villages are relocated, not with fair compensation, but with the quiet pressure of "you no longer belong here." But perhaps the most haunting part of this story is how invisible these lives become. While glossy magazines feature drone shots of infinity pools and eco-friendly villas, no one sees the cooks who haven't been paid in months, or the families forced to move inland because the shoreline is now exclusive. It's not just about wealth, it's about erasure. The billionaire's dream of ultimate privacy comes at the cost of silencing voices that were there long before the resort walls went up. And here's the irony. Many of these billionaires frame their islands as symbols of freedom. Freedom from taxes, freedom from government oversight, freedom from the public eye. Yet that very freedom is built on denying freedom to others, the workers who can't leave, the locals who can't fish, the environment that can't recover. We like to think of paradise as pure, untouched. But when billions of dollars are involved, paradise often becomes a stage set, carefully curated for those who can afford the ticket and brutally closed off to those who can't. So the next time you see an Instagram post of a celebrity sipping champagne on a private island, ask yourself, who else is on that island? Who made that champagne possible? And who had to disappear so that paradise could remain exclusive? Because luxury is never just luxury. It always has a hidden cost. Paradise lost: the environmental price of secrecy. When billionaires buy islands, they don't just change the lives of workers and locals, they reshape entire ecosystems. These tropical landscapes often take millions of years to form. Coral reefs, mangroves, rare bird sanctuaries. Delicate, interconnected, and extremely vulnerable. Yet in the name of privacy and luxury, they're bulldozed, dredged, and replaced with swimming pools, golf courses, and helipads. Take coral reefs, for example. They're sometimes blasted away to make way for docks or speedboat access. But reefs aren't just pretty underwater gardens. They're living organisms, providing food and storm protection to surrounding communities. Once destroyed, they can take centuries to recover. For the billionaire, it means convenience. For everyone else, it means losing a natural defense system against rising seas and hurricanes. Then there's the question of water. Many islands have fragile freshwater systems, often relying on rainfall or small underground aquifers. But luxury villas demand infinity pools, spas, and manicured gardens. To supply this, underground reservoirs are drained, leaving local villagers or even the wildlife with little to drink. What was once a self-sustaining ecosystem quickly becomes dependent on imported bottled water and food flown in from abroad, all at a massive carbon cost. Even so-called eco-resorts are not as innocent as they appear. Solar panels and bamboo furniture make great marketing material, but behind the scenes, diesel generators still roar to keep air conditioning running. Trash and sewage, often unregulated, end up dumped into the sea. The same turquoise waters advertised in brochures become poisoned by human excess. Wildlife, too, pays a silent price. Sea turtles that once nested on quiet beaches are driven away by artificial lights. Birds lose their habitats when forests are cleared for villas. Invasive plants and animals, brought in for landscaping or aesthetic appeal, disrupt local biodiversity. The result is often irreversible. A paradise stripped of the very magic that made it valuable in the first place. And here's the cruelest irony. These billionaires often claim they are saving the islands. They talk about conservation and protecting nature. But the conservation only lasts as long as it serves their brand image. Behind the glossy documentaries and PR campaigns, the environmental damage is real, ongoing, and hidden from the public eye. This destruction is more than just local, it's global. Islands are frontline witnesses to climate change. Rising sea levels, stronger storms, and coral bleaching are not abstract threats. They are happening now. Yet the ultra-rich are building private hideaways as if they can escape the planet's fate. But no wall, no luxury yacht, no private jet can shield them forever. Because paradise doesn't belong to billionaires. It belongs to the planet. And every tree cut, every reef destroyed, every turtle chased away by floodlights brings us one step closer to a world where paradise is just a memory. So when we see billionaires showcasing their green luxury, maybe we should ask, green for who? Nature doesn't care about branding. It only cares about survival. The illusion of paradise. Who really owns the future of these islands? So, we've journeyed past the pristine beaches and turquoise waters, beyond the glossy brochures and celebrity Instagram posts. We've uncovered the hidden costs buried just beneath the sand. The exploited workers, the displaced communities, the scarred ecosystems, and the questionable legal vacuums that allow these private kingdoms to flourish. This is the dark truth behind the billionaires' islands. The paradise we see is an illusion, a carefully constructed fantasy for the few, often built on the hardship of the many. These enclaves are more than just extravagant homes or luxury resorts. They are the ultimate symbols of a world reshaped by unchecked wealth. They represent the terrifying concentration of power, the global influence of money, and the tangible exercise of control. The power to exist outside of public scrutiny. The money to bend or entirely ignore environmental and labor regulations. And the control over a finite piece of the earth, transforming it from a shared natural heritage into a private fiefdom where the only law that truly matters is the owner's will. It's a chilling modern-day feudalism where coastlines, reefs, and futures are traded like commodities. When a single individual can purchase a sovereign piece of geography, altering its destiny forever, it forces us to ask a fundamental and uncomfortable question. If immense wealth can buy a private world, does our shared world still truly belong to everyone? This isn't just a matter of envy. It's about ethics, ecology, and the very definition of a global community. And now, we turn that question over to you. This isn't just a story about the ultra-rich. It's a conversation about our collective future and the values we choose to prioritize. We genuinely want to know what you think. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think billionaires should even be allowed to own entire islands? Is it the ultimate expression of personal freedom, or a dangerous consolidation of power that harms us all? Let's start a real debate. Because the future of these islands, and perhaps our world, depends on who we decide gets to write the rules. And that's a wrap for this episode of the video. I'm DR.RED Panda. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe and give it a thumbs up. Until next time, take care.